Before now, you had to purchase a completely separate set of router bits to make glass cabinet doors. With Freud's premier adjustable rail and stile bits, all you need is the addition of one optional straight cutter. This gives you the capability of making any shape and style of glass panel door with either traditional stub tenons or extended tenons for extra strength and durability. Our first step for making glass panel doors is to calculate the rail size. You calculate the rail size in the same exact manner as a regular door rail with stub or extended tenons. The equation is easy. The rail length is equivalent to the width of the door minus the stile width times 2, plus the tenon length times 2. Keep in mind that the stub tenon length will always be 13/32, but the extended tenon length can be any length that you choose. To cut stub tenons on the rails of a glass panel door, start by unplugging the router and placing the rail bit into the router collet. Make sure that at least 80% of the shank is in the collet, and then tighten the collet nut. Adjust the router bit height for the desired profile on the material, then align the router bit fence to the bearing on the rail bit. The router bit and fence are in alignment to create the stub tenons. I'll be using a backer block to safely hold my material as I route through the wood. With my safety equipment on, I'm ready to start. I've routed the stub tenons, but to create the extended tenons, there are a few extra steps. I've marked up my tenon. The first line represents the depth of the cope on the face of my rail. The second line represents the location of the shoulder. The shoulder is offset 13/32 of an inch from the cope. Now I need to lower the bit to route the back shoulder of the tenon. With the router unplugged, I'm going to lower the router bit until the top cutter is in alignment with the underside of the stub tenon. The bit and the fence are aligned to route the back shoulder of my finished tenon. Everything's locked down, I've got my safety protection on, and I'm ready to go. I've finished routing the back shoulders of my extended tenons. I've unplugged the router and locked the spindle. Now I'm going to remove the top cutter with the included spanner wrench. I'll finish creating the extended tenon with the remaining coping portion of the bit. I'll align the bit with a previous cope cut, and then I'll finish the extended tenon in 2 passes. Everything's in alignment and locked down. I have my hearing protection on as well as my safety glasses, and I'm ready to start routing. When you add the optional glass panel cutter to the stile bit, you get an open shoulder on the edge of the rails and the stiles that allows for easy placement of the glass. I've unplugged my router, and I've placed at least 80% of the shank of the stile bit into the collet, and I've tightened the collet nut. I've also locked the router spindle, and now I'll remove the top nut, the spacer, the bearing, and the washers above the top groove cutter. I'm going to add a shim on top of the grooving portion of the bit, and then I'll add the optional glass panel cutter, as well as the bearing, washers, and the nut. I want to make sure that the nut is on there securely. We'll need to set the stile bit height so that the bottom of the grooving portion of the bit is in line with the tenon. We'll lock the bit into place, and then we'll align the fence with a bearing. After that, we'll make a profile cut on one edge of all the rails and stiles. I've created my extended tenons, and I've also routed the profiles on my rails as well as my stiles. Additionally, I've cut mortises into my stiles, which will receive the tenons. And now I'm ready to assemble my door. When the door is fully assembled, I can set my glass in the opening. I want to create glass stop with my stile bit. That'll hold my glass in place. You can also use the glass panel optional cutter with the Freud rail and stile router bits to create screen doors. Follow the steps in the last chapter to make a screen door with long tenons. You'll need to cut an 1/8 inch groove on the inside shoulder of the rails and stiles, and for best results, use a flat top grind heavy-duty ripsaw blade. You'll fit the screen into the grooves with screen beading material. You'll need to place a wooden bead on the inside of the door in order to trap the screen in place.